Hey guys, we're on our way to Bierbauer Aquatics to do a little tutorial on his breeding operation, something a little different. So we're gonna give an overview on that and hopefully pick out some sweet fish today. Alright guys, we're 15 minutes away from Bierbauer Aquatics. We're on our way to check out his facility and get an overview on all the stuff that is breeding. I know for a fact that he does breed all of the angelfish. That's where we get all of our angelfish that we have in our store, as well as some of our fancy guppies. And I believe he does the super red bristlenose plecos and some types of killifish and maybe some types of cichlids. I'm unsure exactly what types, but we're soon to find out. We're only 15 minutes away. Super excited though. I mean, I haven't been to this facility, so definitely going to be a learning experience. I have some good questions to ask him about breeding plecos and breeding guppies, so stay tuned for that part. Other than that, we're getting closer. We're in, I believe, Sugar Grove, Pennsylvania is where we're heading. So it's about an hour and 15-20 minutes away from our fish store. So it's been quite the trip. A little snowy today, not too bad though. It's been pretty light this winter so far. Oh, there's no. Does it really live up this way? Oh, it's slippery.
Proceed about 2 miles to your destination.
Oh, he does live up there. We're getting it. Spinning. The locker and 4-wheel PL. See if we can drift it. He's trying to keep me straight.
I'm using this in the video.
Alright, let me lock it in 4-wheel drive. I don't want to go in the ditch before we get to Yoder's house.
It'd make for a good video.
To call the Amish and have them pull us out.
Mini Cooper.
Check it out. It's got a fin tail on it. That's great. He didn't tell me he lived on a seasonal road.
It's like the Frankenville trip all over again.
Yeah, how do we end up in the middle of nowhere on these excursions?
I don't know.
No wonder he drives a Subaru.
He needs all-wheel drive.
Good thing This is the natural setting for a tundra.
Name's fitting.
Yes. I definitely see buggy tracks. Ooh, this is a pretty nice area though. Definitely reminds me of my hunting camp. Seasonal dirt road on the top of the mountain. Are we there yet? I still cannot believe you drive all the way to Bradford Central School. Okay, do I go straight? Oh, even worse, 10-ton limit. Uh-oh, we're really getting off the beaten path here now. Hey, there's his house. It's not done yet, though. Alright, what address are we looking for here? They marked. 1443.
1933. Got half a mile to go, it says.
Looks like a little church.
Pretty cool.
In a quarter of a mile, your destination is ahead on the right.
On the right. I have to say it's this one right here. No. What did I say?
Your
14?
destination is ahead on the right.
1448, I thought you said.
Oh, it must be this one here.
Yeah, it says
You
Bear
have
Bower.
arrived at your destination.
All right, guys,
The route
we are
guidance
here.
Is now finished.
It looks like you did a nice little shovel job for us too. I like it. Well, yep, I see some fog on the windows. It's gotta be the fish room. All right, that was a fun trip. Hope we're at the right place. Oh, this is the man. We are here.
You are here.
Man, I didn't realize that we were out here.
Yeah, a little bit. Finish up cleaning.
Nice. All right, guys, we made the trip. We are here with Mr. Bierbauer with Bierbauer Aquatics. We're going to go through and do a quick run through of his fish room here.
So this is all set up for breeding. They're not decorated tanks for the most part, but as we go through, you'll see like a lot of different breeding setups, as well as a handful of like grow out tanks as well. So starting us out, I mean, a lot of my small tanks, I'll run some guppies as well as plecos up on top. So these are some purple Moscow guppies. And my typical setup on these is 20 long, just with a couple sponge filters, some plants of various type, maybe some driftwood. So nothing that's super over the top fancy, but works well for raising fish out. And on the bottom rack here, I run mostly 55s around the edge. Again, sponge filtration is the main things I use. They're maybe not the prettiest, but for getting the number of fish that you see in here to be able to grow out and do well, they're what you want to run, at least in a setup like this. As we go around in, most part you're going to see the majority angelfish. There are a few other cichlids and catfish and stuff that I work with, but as we go around, you'll see a few other things besides angels as well. Across the top on the middle rack here, these are mostly my adult pairs of angelfish. So some of these are young pairs, some of them older, various colors as well, mostly koi, orange marl, a little bit lower on the koi right now, but also have some smokies. The smokies that you see here all carry albino genes, so they're ones I crossed into my albino angels. And this pair here did have the young up until just the other day. You can see the male, so there's a few baby angels you can see on the slate there. They hatched those out on their own, so he's definitely trying to protect them the best he can. And some of these fish you'll see hiding, because a lot of the bigger cichlids, they do like to come out whenever they see me, but when they see somebody new, they will sometimes hide away because they do learn you over time. Okay, and behind here are some the golden pearl angels. So they're electric blue crossed with a yellow ram, gives you a different color pattern. So those hopefully will start laying here pretty soon and be able to have some of those around. And on the bottom here is a big hatch of Crebensis, which we'll see their parents with a batch of younger fry here as we go around a little bit more. And continuing around, these are my favorite guppies of all time. I've had these guys for a long time. They're the albino full reds. So one of my breeding groups, I usually keep 3 or 4 groups of them set up together. And they're just one that always appealed to me.
Top seller at the fish store.
Yeah, definitely a flashy fish. They stand out anywhere you take them because there's not too many fish that are brighter. This is a pretty cool hatch here. You can start to see their color a little bit, but these guys are a color of angel that I kind of build upon. There was some fish, dark marbles, that had some orange to them, but these guys end up having a full orange background with the I think they're one of the prettiest angels that come out of my fish room. They're certainly my favorite. They're very, very, very flashy fish. And being around, so just some additional angel pairs and grow outs as we go through here. And you can see some of these angel tanks have a little bit more algae in them because, well, they don't like having plecos live with them, which is something I try to have in most of my tanks, but they tend to abuse them a little bit. Okay, and then these are little 15-gallon tanks where I usually start my fry out. So this is kind of a neat group here. These are some Crebensis. They're F1 pair, so as far as the specific location they're from, I'm not sure, but they real easy fish to spawn once you get a pair of them. They lay their eggs in a cave and they'll take care of the fry and do everything for you, so I just squirt food in there and they're happy. Next tank here is a big batch of angels. These came out of that smoky pair that had to fry they were guarding a little bit earlier, so there'll be some silvers in here, some smoky leopards, maybe some chocolates, so a few other of the smoky varieties in there. And then continuing, so that tank's actually empty at the moment. So it's a young pair of koi that I'm hoping to get going. So they're very young, they're not even colored up all the way yet, but because of what they're out of, I'm hoping to get some stuff out of them. The female is actually a partial wild cross female, so it should be a nice one. And turn her back around. This is a new species I picked up that you can kind of see them hovering in the plants there. These are Bates Amaranthus, so they're related to the scarlet bates. They're actually on ICUN CARES list, so their habitat is very, very at risk in the wild. They're from India, and pollution and stuff has really taken its toll on them. So they're one. They do get a lot more color to them as they get older, but not as flashy as the scarlet bates that a lot of people are more familiar with. But they definitely are a fun cave spawner. And some of these other tanks, a lot of these guys are hiding right now, but there's some dwarf blue-eyed cichlids, which is the male. You can see they're a gorgeous fish. Used to be really common up into the earlier 90s until the Africans all came along the scene, and a lot of dwarf cichlids kind of went away. So there's another group of them up here, but they're all currently hiding because that's what they do. And up on top here, live bears are something I've always been a big fan of, and these are a type of Giardinia metallicus, black chin variety. The males, these guys are all pretty young. The females get about the size of a female guppy. The males are the smaller ones up there with the black going around their bellies, and they'll get a lot more yellow to them. There's just not a lot of older males in there. I just picked these guys up recently, but they do have a bunch of fry swimming around in the back, so these might be something that I start selling a little more regularly. And the big guys of the fish room. So this is my biggest tank that I run in the fish room here. It's a 125-gallon tank. And those are 2 pairs of the red-spotted Severums, as well as with a pair of angels. So they've hopefully will start laying for me one of these days. So they're a couple years old now, but all they do is eat a lot of vegetables and go from there. Big gentle giants. If you've never kept Severums, you can keep them with some really small fish, and they don't seem to bother much of anything. Okay, and down here on the bottom, my lowest tanks, so these are some, they're hiding for the most part now, but there are a bunch of albino bristlenose in here. There's a nice long fin male in here somewhere, but you can see one of them. That's a female, another female, so it looks like the male's in here. So I don't know if you can get a look into the cave with the light. but so he doesn't have fry with him right now, but they've raised quite a few batches of them out of there for me over the past year or so. And then continuing around, so here's one of the golden dwarf cichlids, and I have another trio in here, and you can kind of see him guarding a cave. So this group has actually laid once for me. I had posted a picture of that on my Facebook page, but unfortunately they didn't seem to have great fertility as their first go at it. So hopefully over the next month or so we can start getting some of them out. This bottom tank here is just where I throw a bunch of extra guppy males. So right now it's a little bit low. I've kind of sold down on those, but I find it works best if you raise guppy males separate from the females. They get bigger, grow a lot faster because they're not worried about chasing the females around all the time. There's also a trio of super red bristlenose in there that they currently don't have any fry with them either. All right, and swinging around the other side. So these the other half of the hatch of the orange marbles and orange koi. So a lot of color to that tank as well. And on the bottom, these are some albino angels, a lot of pearl scales in there, as well as the smokies all carry the albino gene. So these I'm raising out to get pairs for myself. It's kind of a way to get a little bit of outblood into my albino line. And working around here, so these I have a pair of 90-gallon tanks here for growing out angels. And these are a bunch of mostly double dark blacks, but also some black laces. That again, I'm keeping a few of these, trying to get another pair out of them. So they got a little ways to go before they're up to size for that yet. Here's one of my pride and joys. So this is a big longfin super red male. So he's pretty young still. Raised I think 1 or 2 tubes of fry for me. But they're actually a type of bristlenose that, as far as I know, I was the first one to hit the market on them. A few years ago I bred longfin red marble bristlenose into super reds, and over like 3 or 4 generations eventually got longfin super reds, and definitely paid off well in the long run, being the first one to have a bunch of them available anyways. So it was one of my nicer pairs of orange koi, so a little bit darker tank, but female, she's probably the oldest fish in this room. I think she's about 5 years old. So it doesn't lay very often anymore, but does occasionally give me another batch, and they're top-notch stuff out of them. And this is one I originally bought these guys to keep around for live food, but these are least killifish, or Heterandia formosa. So they're one of the smallest of the live bears. The males are the real little tiny ones you see swimming around in there. The females get a little bit bigger. But if you're looking for something to raise for live food for some of the more predatory fish, excellent little fish. They don't bother anything. They reproduce quickly, and they're small enough that most any fish is able to eat them. So they definitely work out well for that. One of my bigger pairs of albino angels. So these guys have been around here for quite a few years as well. The male, I don't know if when he turns around you will see he is blind in one eye, but his female did that to him probably 2 or 3 years ago for some reason or the other, but they've been happy together since then. So it doesn't seem to affect them one bit. A couple more grow out tanks of orange koi. So these guys have got a lot of color. So these are fish that I'll be thinning down a little bit as the spring goes along, but these mostly will be shipped out over the summer to different sources that I sold to over the years. And as we keep going around, some more guppy colonies. So full reds, and there's some least killies that just kind of got into there. I don't know if they jumped across or something like that when I had the lids open, but they don't bother anything, so I'll just scoop them out of there on occasion to thin them down. And we head around, some more koi. So these are some older ones, from a different mating that I was raising out to hopefully get a few more replacements for myself. So keep getting around. These tanks, there's a trio of bristlenose in here. It was all some panda cories, which are one of the cories that I've raised quite a few of over the years. Not the most productive of the cories, but they always are easy to sell whenever you have them around. And last tank on top here is some stir-by cory. So one that, again, I've raised a lot of them over the years. This is a really old breeding colony. But when they're much easier to raise a bunch because they'll lay a whole bunch of eggs all at once, whereas the panda will only lay like maybe a dozen or so each female. So these guys you can produce in number once you get a good breeding group. And on the bottom here, so this is a 75-gallon tank, and this is a colony of cherry spot tropheus, which they're one that you have to sit there and watch them to see them actually show their colors. They're being a little bashful right now, but very aggressive fish. But if you get a good colony, they're absolutely amazing to watch. just a little bit something different I've been playing with the past couple of years, and I've raised a decent number out of these. They're a mouth brooder, definitely a neat personality fish. And to wrap things out, just a few more Cories and a couple different angels in here, mostly just mods and ends extra. And the last tank here is something that I used to raise a ton of them, but the electric blue Acara, absolutely gorgeous fish. Another one that's not too bad to keep with a lot of small fish. These guys are quite small. I mean, they were only about maybe a third of the way grown, but eventually, I mean, they're not real hard to raise if you ever get desire to do so, but certainly a fish worth keeping around. And just a few more angels down to the bottom here, and these are let me give a little more light in here. So this is a hatch of young angels. This is my typical hatch out tank. So these are a mix of smoky angels as well as albino. So I gotta keep the tanks darker because albino angels don't do well with a lot of light. So that's why I had the book on top of the tank there. So these guys just started swimming yesterday. So they're maybe about a week from the time they were laid. And the other tank, these guys were just laid this morning. There's a batch of koi eggs over there. Small hatch, I didn't get to them a little bit late, and one, the male was eating at a few of them a little bit, but those will be wiggling in a couple days, and free swimming in about a week. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, it's for the most part, the majority of what I keep. I have a couple other tanks that run into the other room here, which we can run over to real quick. Turn some lights on. This is a really neat fish, one that has kind of declined for me over the years. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of them right now, but they're Scyphia francesi. They're another critically endangered fish. As far as we know, they're extinct in the wild. They're the golden sawfin goodade. I'm hoping that the females start dropping some fry here, so due to some neglect on my part, they kind of withered away, but kind of like the holy grail of live bears. If you get into them, they're the ones that everybody loves to be able to get. Colder water fish. Really beautiful personality, but hopefully, looking at this female up here, I'm really hoping that she drops a good half dozen or so fry, because they give birth to really big fry as well. But she's definitely gravid as can be right now, and there's another young one over there, so I'm hoping to get them back. I used to raise them by the thousands, but unfortunately, due to some neglect on my part over the years, they kind of have declined a little bit. So there's a good half dozen of them left though in there. There's a bunch of plecos I keep in with them. And the last project, which I just really started working on here, kind of a mess, but I have some big Ranchu goldfish that I picked up and hoping to get them. So I just actually set these tanks up over the past week here, and I'm cycling them currently. So I'm hoping to get them up and going. So I bought these guys from East Coast Ranchu up in New England there, which is an excellent source for goldfish. Not cheap, but I mean, she has absolutely stunning stuff. You just unfortunately have to pay for it a little bit. But so I mean, that's the bulk of all the tanks I have. So there's nothing upstairs, as you can see. Nothing's really decorated. It's just set up for breeding fish, and that's it. So.
All right, guys, now that we're done with the tour here, we're going to go ahead and hand pick some fish out for our fish gallery back at the fish store here. So we're going to go see what we can find.
Best color.
Yeah, look at them guys.
Either of these tanks here, so
I would say any of these guys. Let's say, how many do you think we should get?
I don't know what size tank we're gonna put them in. We're gonna do a 40 or
We got an
29?
40. Yeah, I would say.
there's a beauty. So we'll get you a nice big one. So a big veil fin fish, if he lets me get him.
He's a feisty one.
Yeah, so oops, I guess fish like water.
Water's always important. I do that sometimes.
I do it too.
I love these filters. These I
Yep,
took
so-
a guy's thing apart and he ran these.
Yeah, so that's they call them HMF filters, but they as far as like, and I they're great for these like for grow out tanks. What's nice is if you set them up, you can really just end up having
Because you really never technically clean them, do you?
yeah,
You
like
just
when
rinse them?
I siphon my tanks, I use a big like inch hose, and I'll like run that up alongside them and pull out
Any of the.
you know, some of the gunk. But if you're feeding right and everything, they shouldn't get too dirty. Maybe once every 6 months to even a year, take them out and give them a heavy clean. So I mean, they're definitely a tank filter that if you're looking to have lots of biofiltration, they're going to be one of your best bets for the money. And that sheet of like, usually for like a 55-gallon tank, and I get these I've gotten from Swiss Tropicals.
Okay,
and
I was gonna say I've never seen any of them.
yeah,
with my
they're
suppliers.
becoming more common, but he has these really nice lifters too. Which,
Oh,
like,
yep.
so, and these, I don't know, they're made in Germany,
Oh, no
but like
doubt.
they go in and they got a real fine bubble that they produce, and they just really.
So that's made for their.
Yep. So I mean, Germany's got a big aquarium industry over there, and like these now for the guy, the Steven
Look at the
Tan.
movement on that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I mean they move some serious wire because you can use just regular PVC pipe
Yeah,
with an
make your
airline
own.
in there, but you won't get near the flow out of them as what these
Oh, that's
do.
awesome.
Yeah,
So,
that's
and that's
so
not even turned up maximum level that it could potentially
That's
through.
I like the air system. I can't believe how many tanks you power on.
Yeah, and that's like I said, she can handle quite a bit more.
Probably way more efficient than my blower.
Yeah, and well, the big blowers will move. Like they can handle a lot more outlets, but they won't have the pressure.
Yeah, down pressure for the deep tanks. I noticed that. I was running the problem with the discus, that new discus tank I did. It just doesn't have barely any bubbles going on.
Really?
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, these guppies, man, everybody loves these things. And you called that, what is it, like a super red albino?
Full red albino.
Full red albino.
I believe they're a delta tail is what they classified as.
I tell you what, man, we got tons of little baby guppies. I have no idea what they are, but some mutts.
Maybe we should have him come look at them and tell us what they have.
That's, I mean, it's the easy way if you like get into breeding guppies is like just cross the. I don't know how many, there's 5 of them in there. That's 4.
Are we gonna do other colors too, or just some?
Don't matter to me.
What's your display thing?
I know, I'm just...
Yeah, that's. I'm trying to think. I don't really have anything else about the same size right now. Look, I have some of these orange marbles, but I just think they. So once I get them up to size, we can get some of those down there for you. They're like I said, they're gorgeous. And they're so much easier to raise too,
Right.
because they don't lose color like the koi can and stuff. And like the only other ones I have about that size, some of the blacks, but I wouldn't put the blacks with the koi. The blacks are way more aggressive.
Yeah. I say that's a good number to start with.
Okay. Like I said, we can get you a couple of orange marbles as they get a little bit bigger.
Absolutely. Cool, cool.
You think we should put them in a 40-gallon?
Yeah, I mean it's would be plenty of room for them for quite a while as they start to get older and start pairing off. Then you might want to knock things down because the pairs can get a little bit aggressive towards everybody else in the tank. That's why if you're keeping angels for like a display tank, it's always a good idea to try to get all males or all females in the tank.
Having to beat each other up.
You can give you some headaches, which is a tough thing to do. Sexing angelfish when they're young is not easy, so I always start out with a bigger group and then just whittle them down from there until you get to the groups that you want.
I like it.
All right, guys, that was the tour here. We want to thank Mr. Bierbauer for letting us into his awesome little facility here, and
My pleasure.
it's definitely a good little experience. We got to handpick some angels for our fish gallery.
Yep, thanks for coming over. And
Absolutely, Matt.
anytime.
Awesome, awesome. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you have any comments or questions, place them below. And don't forget to check out his website. He does have a website up and going. And like him on Facebook as well.
Thank you.
All right.
So, all right, have a good one.
You too.